Folks, what an insane fucking week. And it's only been a few days. Only a few days. That's it. I feel like Sunday was just yesterday. We got it all for you this week. We're not fucking around, folks. We're talking about shit that we haven't talked about on the pod in like months, I feel like. If even months. I feel like it's been years since we're going to talk about what we're going to talk about later. And spoiler alert, it is not just AEW today, even though the thumbnail that you see if you're watching on YouTube is indeed all about AEW, all about AEW Revolution, which we will get to here in a second. But of course, I want to do a little bit of housekeeping. I want to thank everyone for checking out the pod. I see you all every single week. I'm looking at the numbers. I'm like, wow, you know, I'm finding my little tribe, and I appreciate all of you for giving me a like, giving me a repost on BlueSky, you know, giving me an emoji in a Discord, wherever you know me from. Thank you. And right off the bat, I want to say thank you actually to a couple of people that let me know that my audio was a little fucked up. And basically what I found out is I'm a genius. And I had to get through my system to finagle. I had this fucking mic turned down so low. I have no idea why. Well, I think a lot of it is I used to record in a much larger space, so it was much more echoey. And thank God I've got this little studio offshoot room in my home now that I record this fucker in every week for you people, and I really appreciate the feedback. And that's my whole thing, right, is I'm not going to be a piece of shit that doesn't listen to the people. And if you're telling me something's fucked up, I'm going to look into it. And I did. I pulled the shit up, the stream from Sunday, and I was like, you know, this does sound kind of fucked up, so let's fix that. And so here we are. I hope that is better. Let's jump into it, folks. AEW Revolution happened. It was a thing. And we started off the motherfucker with maybe the most important angle at the end of the day that AEW ever puts together. It is shaping up to be a classic of classics. It was Hangman versus MJF. And I'll say this, you know, on my fucking stream, I'll say a lot of things I was wrong about. But this one, number one, I really thought that MJF was going to get the win here, drive Hangman fucking crazy. Little did I know, I wasn't paying enough attention. It's not about Hangman going crazy. He's already snapped. He's done. He's on the day crescendo, if you will, of the craziness in his life. It's MJF who's going to snap now. We are going into full meltdown MJF mode. It starts tonight on Dynamite. We'll get into that. But this was a great match. I saw a lot of haters online about, this fucking spot, that spot. Oh, Hangman almost killed him with those angel's wings. I mean, guys, it's pro wrestling. Like, and that's one of those things. And I will, I mean, this is going to sound bizarre, but I guess I am going to shit on WWE in the next segment, to be very honest with you, but not like that. Like, I've never understood the LOL a botch thing, you know? I think I was over that when I was like 16 years old, actually. I think I am at the point in my fandom where I really appreciate when wrestlers go above and beyond. I know that's an unbelievable fucking concept to people, but I actually appreciate the grittiness. I really have always loved that. It makes it feel, I don't know, fucking real. You know, isn't that the whole gimmick of pro wrestling, is we're supposed to suspend disbelief and we're supposed to go into this ether world, if you will, between reality and fantasy. That's kind of where wrestling lives, right? That's the whole point, I thought, or maybe I'm just losing my mind now with MJF, but this was a great match. And I was very surprised that it opened the show, but I shouldn't be. I mean, I feel like AEW always puts on banger shows with starters that are just like, whoa, this could be the main event. And it could have been the main event. We'll get into what I think should have been the main event, and seems like I'm not alone. But either way, this was great. I was very shocked. Heyman just clean in the middle, beat him with his finish. I'm very excited for the insanity arc that is to come from MJF. And by the way, as I go on to the next slide here, I'm not going in chronological order necessarily. I'm going in kind of order of importance to me. Also, just sort of where I felt like it was on the card mainly. And that is Hurt Syndicate's next. They absolutely demolished the Outrunners. Talk about being dead wrong. Talk about being absolutely incorrect about something. I had this fucking long-winded, like, they're going to give the belts to the Outrunners and they're going to have this little Cinderella run. No, they are not. Hurt Syndicate came into LA, whooped that ass, and I will say this. You know, I think at one point it became pretty clear that Hurt Syndicate is much more over than I think any of us really understood. And they really turned the crowd against the Outrunners, which I did not know was possible. They did it. I mean, there was a distinct point in the match where I remember the Outrunners getting booed. And these guys look and feel unbeatable right now. I cannot imagine a bigger home run for an opening, like, little few months for an act than with Hurt Business. Jesus, I almost went to that E name. That's how out of it I am. That's how shocked I was, honestly, that Hurt Syndicate beat them as bad as they did and as quickly as they did. But why? You know, when we sit here and we look at it on YouTube, I have the dopest picture of all time, fucking Lashley and Shelton Benjamin just looking jacked with the titles overhead. And I mean, the only thing to me that feels right is Hurt Syndicate Young Bucks. I don't know when we get it, and who knows when we get it, how, what, when, or why, but I do think that is money, and we'll see. You know, there's a lot of rumors about the Bucks coming back. I feel like it's got to happen soon. I thought this was tremendous. And yeah, I mean, it felt like this was something that is going to be hard to top for the tag division. I don't see anybody doing that for a while. But motherfucker Swerve, he came, he saw, he conquered. A great match with Ricochet. Not a beat down like Hurt Syndicate did, but an absolute beating by Swerve. And if there is anything coming out of Revolution to know about Revolution, it is AEW is indeed Swerve's house. He feels like the hottest guy in the company again. And that's the beauty of these AEW pay-per-views. In one fell swoop, in one night, somebody can come in and leave as the absolute top star in the company. And it's happened many times, but this is really a distinct time in AEW history where I feel like somebody went into a pay-per-view and they were hot. You know, Swerve was a top guy, absolutely. But he is the undeniable, in my mind, top guy in AEW right now. And we'll get into later, you know, the ending of the show, but I thought him and Ricochet exceeded all expectations. And you want to talk about Ricochet, I mean, my God, a guy that literally did a 180 from where he was at in WWE. I mean, he was just like literally just treading fucking water in WWE so badly. People talking about, is he even that good? I mean, crazy conversations about Ricochet were going on. He goes to AEW, and now, within 5 to 6 months, he's one of the premier heels in the company and the business. And I'm very excited to see where Ricochet goes after this. This is one of those moments where it's like, I don't feel like, oh man, well, Ricochet lost that match. Where does he go from here? It's like he only goes up from here. I can't wait to see where he goes. Swerve, incredible in that performance. as was Okada in his Continental Championship defense. I thought he and Brody King tore the house down. I mean, it's another one where these people online that talk about like the downfall of Okada in AEW. I'm like, are you fucking high on crack? Are you high on crack, people? There is no fucking way you're going to tell me that Okada has lost anything going to AEW. Not only is the man, literally, he debuted with the top fucking heel group, the Elite, with fucking the Bucks, who had heat out the ass at the time. Jack Perry had heat out the ass at the time. He went from that to constantly and continually defending the Continental Championship. He beat Eddie Kingston for it, the hottest guy at the time, maybe in AEW. He went on from there to defend the Continental Championship in the Continental Classic. No one's ever done that yet. He did that, beating fucking Will Ospreay in the final in a Classic. Had a Classic with Ricochet in the semis. Had a Classic with Buddy Matthews last month in Australia. Do I gotta even say any more? Also has evolved himself outside of the ring to where he's a good promo. People can say what they want about, oh, his English. I mean, he knows better English than some motherfuckers that are from America. So, to me, Okada in AEW, fucking A+. I mean, what has he done wrong? He's had nothing but fucking bangers again and again and again. I got a feeling it's going to lead him to this man. And that, of course, is the cleaner. He did it. He won the international title off Takeshita, another classic match. All these guys do is have classic matches. And this was no different. Loved the, when I found out the story of the anime that he and Takeshita's gear was based off of, being a huge part of him, you know, getting into learning Japanese, which then, of course, in turn helped him become the top foreign star in Japan for many, many a year. And, of course, because he was a top star in Japan and was able to really, you know, get over there and relate to those people, he becomes a key EVP for AEW, and the rest is history. Great match. I think we can safely say now Kenny has not lost a step since diverticulitis. He's come back as good as ever, maybe better than ever. And this was phenomenal. I mean, it was the classic Japan struggle. You know, Takeshita threw everything he had at Kenny. And this was a great moment, too, where, you know, this is the beginning, or really the continuation of a great saga with these guys, where, you know, Takeshita came in as the young man, the young buck, and no pun intended, and destroyed Kenny in their first match. Beat the shit out of him at All Out. And little did we know he's suffering with diverticulitis at the time. And it really did kind of legitimately lead to Kenny's slow decline, right? It wasn't long after that he gets in the bizarre fucking Winnipeg Jets fucking tag team with Jericho, and we think he's going to get sucked into that stupidity. And then diverticulitis almost kills him. And then, of course, as he's gone, Takeshita becomes maybe the MVP of AEW as a whole. I mean, he's had another one, just like Okada. Banger after banger after banger. I'll put up that fucking Orange Cassidy title match from Oceanside against, like, any other match that OC has had or Takeshita's had until this one, of course. I think this one was the best one yet. I think easily the best Takeshita international title match so far, which in turn might be the best international title match ever. So, short list, obviously, but this feels right. Kenny looks really good with that belt, and I really did love the shot of him hugging the title and being like, oh my God, you know, it's like cool to see the veteran guy that's done it all being thankful to be a champion that maybe a lot of people wouldn't think about. So we're going to begin the hot takes, because I think this match right here, the Hollywood ending, should have main evented the whole show. Because I will say, and the one thing I've seen online, the one big criticism was the pacing was off. And you know what? It's not all the time that I agree, but I do agree in this case. This had everything. It had the history. It had the violence upon violence. They did a fucking Taipei deathmatch spot. Ian and Axel Rotten from 1995 shit. My God, Tony Khan, I see you, by the way. I see you. I know that was unbelievable. And I mean, they have continually raised the bar for what women should and could be in this business. And I loved, and my wife said the same thing as well. She teared up at this, actually, and she said, you know, for once, I'm just glad that they're showcasing the violence that women can fucking have. And that isn't that kind of what should happen, right? Like that's pro wrestling. And I was like, man, you're so right. Like, it shouldn't just be about your asses out and you look good in your gear. Like, I understand that's always going to be a part of this, right? And it's the same with the guys. I know that. I'm not naive. It's a cosmetic business, as a lot of the old timers will say. And that's definitely correct. But I think it should absolutely be also your talent above all else. You know, you can look great. And there's a lot of people that look great and they can't fucking work. I'm not going to throw shade, but I just mean, you know, like, it's true. And these two women have it all. They have the looks, but they have the incredible talent. And I mean, this is right up there with any modern no DQ / street fight thing that I've seen. I mean, I thought it was executed perfectly. I noticed a lot of the little troll clip channels didn't have a whole lot of fuck ups from this one because they were on point. And somebody said it was like 13 minutes. Okay, well, it was perfect. Like, that was the perfect amount of time that we needed, clearly. I mean, I don't know anyone that wasn't, like, losing their shit for this thing. I mean, it was just nuts. These women bled more than any two men in the ring, and we'll get into two men bleeding in the ring, which was very close to this, but I will give this one over that. I mean, fuck, Tony was literally pouring at one point. Fucking blood. For an old ECW head like myself, I love this shit. This is what got me into pro wrestling. I love it. I love the realism of this. I love the grittiness of this. And the last shot of them, you know, basically in an embrace in the pinfall where they're both just fucking passed out from the pain, the blood. Beautiful image. And another prime example that, you know, to me, pro wrestling might be the most beautiful art form on planet Earth. When it's done perfectly, I don't think there's anything better. And this was done perfectly, in my opinion. Bravo, Tony Storm and Mariah May. I'm excited to see where both of them go. Unbelievable. And like I said, I think it should have been the main event. And that is even counting this one right here. Fletcher Osprey, I almost said Omega, Christ. That'll be great too. Fletcher and Omega. I'm down for that for the international title or something. Fletcher, Osprey, steel cage. Holy fucking shit. This one had it all. I said Mariah and fucking Tony had it all. They did. So did this. We had Tax. We had Mark Davis coming in. I don't know why, but I know why, the history, yada yada, but boy, you want to talk about somebody spinning the wheels. Either way, this had it all. It had the screwdriver spot come back. I mean, and again, like I just said, blood over blood, but it also had incredible work rate. It was 31 plus minute match, I believe, is when I looked at last night. So another one that it was worth all 31 plus minutes in this one. An absolute classic. I would say it's tied for me with Young Bucks Lucha Brothers for best cage match. You know, obviously not Blood and Guts counted, but best, even honestly that, because let's be real, a lot of those work rate wise are usually not the best, let's be honest, but this was incredible. And I would put this right up there with, like I said, Bucks Lucha Brothers from All Out. What was that, like 2022, I believe? Yeah, 2022. 21. There we go. Jesus. We're finally at the point with AEW where I'm like, what year was that? My God, it's actually a good feeling because I remember being very excited for this day one. Like I said, though, this cage match, unbelievable. Don Callis on the call, unbelievable. Just panicking when Fletcher was getting his ass beat. We had the beautiful moment And I think my buddy Neon Ghost put it perfectly. I think he's the one that brought it up on social media that I read of, Fletcher just had a fit in the middle of the ring. And he said, well, yeah, like he was this like boy king character. He had worked himself up that I'm the king. I'm the new king. I beat Ospreay. I took care of you. And it's in that moment he realizes like, I can't do anything about Ospreay. It's his time. It's not mine. I've been lying to myself. And he can't handle it. He mentally and physically broke in this match. And the Tiger Driver on his fucking neck didn't hurt. Ospreay wins. And just like Swerve, I just said it and I'll stand on business. I do think Swerve's the top guy in AEW, but man, is Will Ospreay right behind him. What a fucking match. And another guy, I'm so excited to see where he goes. I mean, as I'm going through this, I'm thinking, oh my God, Okada's hot right now. Ospreay, Fletcher's hot. Takeshita, Kenny, Hangman, MJ. I mean, guys, if there weren't the grifters out there, the haters, the WWE, ass lickers like Eric Bischoff, and by the way, I have a great idea. I'm not going to reveal it yet in regards to making Eric Bischoff sad. And everyone I think will be excited about what it's about as I don't continue to be vague and like everyone's like, what are you even fucking talking? Well, what that is this right here. Coming soon, a WCW podcast. And it's all gonna start from the moment that Jim Crockett Promotions became WCW. And my plan is to have it go up until Nitro. And the reason that I thought about this was I was talking to a few of the people that I like and respect from social media and, various places, fellow sickos, if you will, in this whole pro wrestling, I guess, fucking stratosphere. And I thought to myself, I got into wrestling because of like 1993, 1994 WCW, like pre-Nitro WCW. And I thought about it. I was like, there was a lot of great stuff from that era that a lot of people really maybe don't know about, or even like maybe they just forgot about. So I thought, what a fun way for me to kind of do something I love to do. I love all that old WCW shit. And really it would be a perfect excuse for me to have a little bit of brain and eye bleach from all the fucking hating online, all the pseudo trolling some of these goofs do, and just go back to the shit that just makes me feel good, made me care about any of this to begin with. So coming soon, I will be doing From Crockett to Chaos, and I like the name. Been fucking around. A lot of people around me, my wife included, were like, I like that, So that is coming soon. I'm very excited about that. Details are to come, of course. And hey, if you're listening to this and you're a podcaster and you want to be involved and maybe be a guest for an episode, please shoot me an email, troublesweekly@gmail.com. Hit me up, of course, on the screen for those watching on video, troublesweekly.bsky.social. I'm on Threads, Troubles Wrestling Pod. You can find me anywhere. I'd love to talk some fucking old school WCW with you guys. And yeah, so with that leads us to the main event of Revolution. And there was a lot of contention about how this podcast, Jesus, how this podcast is going to end. I can tell you, us talking about like 4 things that are announced for Dynamite. No, how this pay-per-view would end. Everyone knew that it was going to be a great pay-per-view. I don't, think a lot of us maybe understood how great it ended up being. I think, for my money, I think it might be the very best AEW pay-per-view of all time. And I've seen them all. But, man, there's not a lot of shit I can think about that tops it. With that said, though, was this the best AEW main event ever? No. And that's okay. I will start by saying that. I think the doom and gloomers that are like, that main event was horrible, this and that, guys, again, go back and watch some of those old fucking Nitro era WCW pay-per-view main events and come back to me. Go, actually specifically, go watch Hogan versus Piper in that weird like 96 to the middle of 97 window, and for whatever fucking reason they were the main event of like at least 2 or 3 fucking pay-per-views together, and tell me that Jon Moxley versus Cope was worse than that. Sometimes I just wish that the haters had at least a little bit of perspective. It's like, guys, fucking pump the brakes here. I mean, this isn't even as bad of an AEW main event that I've ever seen. I'll be honest. There's been some fucking bizarre endings to pay-per-views, but this wasn't that. I think the match was good. I mean, when I rewatched it with my wife, I enjoyed it. Actually, more than I did originally. Granted, a lot of people said, and I think correctly, that, I mean, it was like you're burnt out. At this point, you've seen so much. It definitely shouldn't have main evented the show. I'll say that. Like I said, I think Tony Storm, Mariah May should have main evented. But again, that's how this shit works, right? We all expected fuckery. We got fuckery because we had Jay White come out. He's going to fucking hit Moxley with the briefcase. He ducks. He kills Cope. We got that whole thing looming over our heads. The tease that Yuta's going to turn on Moxley doesn't go down. And at the end of the day, Cope looks like he's got the title won. And it's fucking Christian Cage to come out, finally sign his contract. He joins the match and passes out from the Bulldog choke. And I mean, all right, I'll say this. Live, I was not happy. Live, I was like, what the fuck? Like, you put over this next AEW World Champ shit, and then it's nothing. And then I thought about it. Yeah, exactly. That's great. And the reason it's great is not because, well, fuck Christian. I don't want him to win the title. I think he ends up winning the world title eventually in AEW. I think it's great because we all fucking worked ourselves up into it, right? Like, he literally basically convinced all of us, I'm the next AEW World Champion. And we all went, oh, cool. I don't know why. We just, because they're playing on that old thing. And again, it's that WWE shit where they beat it over your head until it happens. And then you go, yeah, I told you so. When it's like, yeah, I told you so. Fucking idiot. Either way, fucking Moxley runs out of there with the briefcase like, holy shit, you know. And Nana meets him in the tunnel. And you're like, Nana, listen, I know you're, you know, puffed up a little bit because you got your robe back. This is Jon Moxley you're talking to. And just as Jon Moxley's like, let me just slap this little motherfucker to the ground, we see Swerve like Batman up on the fucking, like, the balcony. And he fucking double stomps Moxley from like, I don't know, like fucking 15 feet in the air through all the security. He's fucking losing his shit, and we go off air with Swerve looking down at Moxley. That is why all that Mox Cope shit is fine. It is going to feed families when Swerve and Jon Moxley finally get one-on-one for the World Championship. And it looks like it's going to be a Dynasty, the very event Swerve became the world champion last year. So, wonderful. Phenomenal work. Even though the match itself, main event wise, was not up to snuff, the result was. I mean, did I want Moxley to keep the belt? No. I wanted Jay White to end up with it somehow. I'm a mark. But with that said, I said it earlier, we might as well rip the Band-Aid off. We got some WWE to talk about. And buddy, let me tell you, Roman Reigns has been missing Seth Rollins, as you can see if you're watching on video. He is in a caress, if you will, with Seth Rollins. And It was kind of cute, honestly. Old Triple H, he said, okay, you guys booked a cage match for your big old pay-per-view, huh? Well, I'm going to book one in Madison Square Garden the night after on Raw, and it's going to be Seth Rollins against CM Punk. It's going to be an angle that's been, very heated. And I'm going to have a cage match that, in comparison to AEW's cage match, will look like a 1994 McDonald's Playhouse fucking Royal Rumble. It was honestly so fucking ridiculous. I could not believe they bothered. And it's like, it literally, when you watch AEW, right, and they're at the highest of high levels that they can get to, and I'm not saying it's all the time, I'm not, but when it is, and then you comparatively look at WWE, you're like, this is literally like, are we down a fucking speed on the playback? Like, do we need to fix this? It just felt so plodding. And it's nothing against Seth Rollins. It's kind of something against fucking CM Punk, but it really is just how they structure shit and what they do. It's like it was not a cage match, okay? I mean, it wasn't. At the end, though, Rollins has CM Punk dead to rights, and as you see, Roman Reigns yanks him out of the cage, curb stomps him himself. You think, God, okay, he killed Rollins, so what's this? And in the ring, Heyman is like consoling Punk for some bizarre reason. We're like, what's that about? Well, apparently what that's about is Reigns came for that ass as well. He laid out Punk, and Raw ends with him doing his finger thing, and hey, he came to work. He came to fucking work. And it looks like we're getting a triple threat at WrestleMania. Cool. So that happened. And I feel like it's worth mentioning. They're really, I'll tell you, WWE's very aware that this WrestleMania has to succeed. They're very aware of that. They know that they're in a weird position because of the fucking Vince shit, the TKO shit, the MAGA shit. They got a lot of things, for people that want to just defend WWE. It's like, well, then you must live under a rock, brother, because the outside world that is non-wrestling isn't very thrilled with you fucking guys. But I will say one thing I liked. And while I say one thing I liked, I will criticize it as well because, hey, fuck it, right? It's the internet. And that is good on fucking old HBK for putting 2 belts on Stephanie Vancouver. And I mean, listen, good for her. She beat Julia, another girl. They both came in at the same time, and that's great. Here's the issue with this match. It went like 11 fucking minutes. They made this big deal that it's the main event, and I will be fair here. It's the exact same thing they did to Yuka Sakazaki and fucking Mercedes when they, quote-unquote, main evented Dynamite not too long ago, and they gave them the same treatment. The only difference is this is supposed to be title for title. This was literally promoted as the biggest women's match in NXT history, and it is, by far. I can't remember a title for title NXT women's match ever. But, like, what a disservice. I don't know if it's because of the rumored health issues with Julia, which is apparently why she had to drop the title here. I don't know. But either way, I watched what I watched of it, which was sadly like half the match because I watched like 5 minutes of it. And it was great. These two are great performers. But man, you want to talk about getting done dirty. And apparently they were doing like videos of fucking Shawn Spears' new fucking stable. Like, yawn. Fucking, okay. We need that instead of 5 to 10 extra minutes of Julia and fucking Stephanie Vacker. I don't know how you say her last name. I feel bad, but she's a phenomenal fucking talent. Okay, that's all you need to know, and that is all we need to talk about when it comes to WWE. Fuck that. Okay, it's still rather grim, but what's not grim? Dynamite tonight as I record this, and we only know 3 things technically if you count the entirety of the International Championship Eliminator Tournament. Kenny Omega will be in the building, Fresno, California. And we're going to hear from him as the new international champion. I expect fuckery involved, as do most of us. And MJF, the king of fuckery, will be there. And I have a feeling we're going to see a very crazed MJF. I don't think he's going to be a happy camper. And as we know, MJF pissed and motivated is probably the best promo in the business. And then, of course, we have the beginning of an international championship eliminator tournament. The winner faces Kenny Omega at Dynasty for the international championship. I love that they are quite literally making Kenny Omega the final boss. They're like, oh, okay, Rock, you're saying you are. We're going to quite literally have where, like, Kenny Omega's at the point where you got to win a tournament to face this fucking guy. I love it. It also makes the international title mean something, and I see what you did again, TK. A lot of international flavor here in the bracket tonight. Starting off the tournament festivities will be Orange Cassidy, maybe the most decorated international champion of all time, against Hechicero, a literal fucking wizard from Mexico. That will be an absolute lucha classic there. We have the wild card. Who the fuck knows who this could be? It might very well be old Speedball, or of course the heavily rumored Josh Alexander against the Beast Mortos. And then on Saturday, we've got Katsuyori Shibata, member of the Ops, against Ricochet, and Mark Briscoe taking on Mark Davis. I mean, all these are bangers, okay? All these are bangers. I will go ahead and say Orange gets the win over Hechicero. I hate to say that because I would love for Hechicero to get the win here, but it ain't going to happen. Whoever the wild card is beating Mortos, and I kind of hate that they put Mortos in that position. But it is what it is. He always delivers. Shibata and Ricochet, I think, is the most interesting first rounder here because it's like, ooh, I don't know who the fuck. I feel like Ricochet's got to win it because Shibata doesn't need to win to be a badass. Everyone knows he is. And then Briscoe and Davis, oof. I think Briscoe needs it because I'll go blue in the face continually saying I think he's the most underrated guy in the fucking business today. And that leads us to, of course, the four-way to fucking see who goes on to face Kenny. I love this stuff. I know a lot of people online shit on it, and, you know, they're going to shit on anything. But I like it. I like that AEW leans into this stuff. I like that they make it to where you earn title matches. We're not just getting, like, for instance, Braun Breaker against Finn Balor next week on Raw for the Intercontinental title. It's like, why? Because you speared him last week and he's lost every fucking match in the last month. So at least, you know, these guys like, you know, again, Davis and some of these guys, Mortos, that lose a lot, at least they're positioned to get a win, move up. I mean, that's realistic stuff that happens in sports all the time. So I love that. And with the scarcity of what is announced tonight, I expect Dynamite to be an all-timer. I think with what AEW's done as of late, they just sort of keep having all-timer shows. I mean, even Collision was phenomenal, and it was taped and everything else. But I thought Lee Moriarty and Daniel Garcia was phenomenal. I know I didn't get into that a lot. There's too much to talk about with Revolution. And yeah, so with that, actually, I didn't mention that they did do a cool little angle on 0 Hour with Gravity and Jericho, actually. And I can't believe I'm putting Jericho over. But Jericho beat the shit out of Gravity in front of his mother. That was awesome. Bandito came out. They embarrassed him. So, again, I say, just like with a Bernie Sanders meme, put the title on Bandito, Tony. Fuck, man. This will now be the third time he has challenged Jericho all time for the ROH World title. And it will have been the third time, if you don't give it to him, that he has lost to Jericho for the ROH World title. Unbelievable. You got to put the title on Bandito. I don't care what your plans for ROH are. And I'll go there. They don't seem like much. So anyway, that is now officially all I got for you people. Until next time, Go watch All Japan Wrestling from the 90s. That shit is like my jam lately. I watched Yun Akiyama against Kenta Kobashi last night from 98. Fucking tremendous. Go watch that shit. Go watch that and come back to me on BlueSky with some troll shit. Okay? I fucking dare ya.